And so this is sort of the beginning of my interest in comparative ritualism. Now, my interests have evolved and have become more specialized. In fact, my interests have become rather narrowly specialized just in the last year or so, which, of course, I'm eager to talk about. But Jeff was asking me a little bit about my favorite degrees. I have just one in particular, but there are two that I'll mention. Both of them are in the Scottish Rite. One is the 28th degree. It's a little hard to explain, but I'll put it this way. Albert Pike wrote a very thick book on the Scottish Rite, giving the background of the degrees. Believe it or not, the 28th degree is about 150 pages long. So you can see what he had to say about it is very lengthy. The name of the degree is Knight of the Sun or Prince Adept. And I have to say it's one of my favorite degrees that, believe it or not, it has been renumbered. In the United States, we have two jurisdictions. The northern jurisdiction still numbers the degrees the same. The southern jurisdiction, where we are in Oregon, they've renumbered them so that this degree is now referred to as the 27th, and the 28th is the number of a degree that's only 3 pages long in Morals and Dogma. The other degree that's probably my favorite in the Scottish Rite is the 18th degree. That's referred to as the Knight Rose Croix. One of the American authors says, with good validity, it's probably the most controversial Scottish Rite degree, because in some jurisdictions it's a specifically Christian degree, such as is true in England. It's specifically a Christian degree in England. In the United States, it's not specifically connected with any particular denomination. So if I had to include a longer list of my favorite degrees, it would include those two. But that brings me down to the fact that I'm now down to probably only one favorite degree.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions you'd like to try on me before we talk about the...
Oh, I was just going to say, you were going to mention the name of the American version.
Oh, yes. Well, don't take my word for it. Look it up. Don't call it the American work, or don't call it our work. It's called the Webb work, W-E-B-B.
Webb.
And there's a historical reason for this. But Americans just never call it by name because, as far as they're concerned, it's the only one that exists.
Right, yeah. But it's based on the first 3 degrees of the
Oh,
Scottish
well,
Rite.
it's a version of the first 3 degrees. It has its origin in England, and it differs somewhat from the British version, but that's to be expected. Things do change in Masonry.
Yeah. One of the things that, really stand out to me is, as you're going through the degrees, you don't pick up any, you don't notice if anything is out of place or out of, someone said the wrong words. The experience is so overwhelming that it really doesn't matter what it's called. It's just
that's true. And of course, if you go across a state border to Montana or someplace, the degrees are quite a bit the same. Now, there was a organization at one time called the Baltimore Convention, which was going to, the goal was try to enforce total uniformity such that Oregon and Washington would be totally identical, which they are not totally identical. They're very close. But this was an effort that was going to try to force them to be totally identical. This did not succeed. But it's typical of the American approach of not allowing any variation.
Yeah.
Now, are you ready for me to talk about my favorite degree?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite degree, I used to have a name for it, but I found that I don't want a name for it because this degree is found in more than one part of the world. And it has different names, but it's almost identical in all parts of the world. This doesn't mean it dominates the entire world, however. But this degree well, maybe one place to start is there is a book which I have here, which covers issues of the Scottish Rite plumb line quarterly going from year 1991 through 2016, all in one version, all in one volume. And if I had to give this degree, other people have other names for it. But since it's almost a mistake to give it a name, rather than take one of the established names, I would just call it the Andrew Hammer degree. Nobody has ever called it that, but there is a extremely important article on it in this volume of the plumb line, covering these years together. And he talks about a case where he was in conversation with a brother who once asked if there were not more than 33 degrees, and if there was perhaps 3 degrees or 1 degree beyond the 33rd, and that it had been lost, and that we're missing out because we don't have it. And so Brother Hammer, he glibly responded, yes, the answer is yes. So it's this degree that he discusses in this. This is on page, specifically on page 513 in this volume, that he discusses it. He does give it a name, but even he is a little mistaken in that he is not aware that it has such international significance. I'll tell you a little bit about the degree, and then I'll give you a little bit of a description.
Okay.
This degree is quite typical among countries that use the Romance languages, Italian, Spanish, and French. Yeah, not universally, but it's their dominant degree. So you could call it the Romance language degree if you wish, but there's other Romance language degrees. It's all this one degree, this apprentice degree, is also found in Scandinavia, which is quite a ways away. There's a few minor differences, but it's basically the same. This is their apprentice degree again, not their second degree. It's also present in Berlin. It's not the only degrees that's practiced in Berlin. And believe it or not, this is available in English. And I wonder if anyone can guess where it's available in English. It's not available in England, to my knowledge. It is available in New Orleans. It's totally legitimate under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Louisiana.
Wow.